Hey gang, Kevin here, Life22. Catching you guys on the flippy flop. It is Friday. It's Friday, and I know most of you are waiting for me. That you're lovely, to get you guys the guest host on the show, and or not the guest host, but the guest on the show, and we had to postponing to tomorrow afternoon. The reason we brought on this guest was actually because a couple council meeting reviews ago, one of the people speaking public comment reached out to me and did not like my review of their comments on at public comment, my review thereof, and wanted to defend him or herself, and they then had second thoughts, and then I mentioned it to one of the running aldermen, and he said, "Hey, I'll come on the show." And I was like, "Great, awesome, that's cool. We got to keep it filling up. We need people on the show, news over beers, or just shooting the shit with just an interview." So that's cool. Still working on the merch store. I want to get something up online. I got to get some concepts. Still brought to you by Uncle Tony down at Allegheny Redemption and Beverage. Check him out right across from Bonaventure. And I got a couple other guests we're trying to get on the show. But today we are reviewing the September 9th Diversity Inclusion Committee. And so here we go. Let's jump right into it because I have a council meeting I also have to finish taking notes on and do that one. And then there is one more that I haven't even watched. I don't even know how long it is. It's pretty long. So there's everyone's hero. That's his name right there. Oh, what are you drinking, Bill? Oh, is it Diet Pepsi? An old can of Diet Pepsi. No. Anyways, we're not going to try to figure out what he's drinking in his can. So between 0 and 7 minutes, it's just a meet and greet. Hi, everybody. How you doing? Hi, hello. And then 7 minutes in. This is where it gets juicy.
Hey. Hi, Dan.
Hello.
Still meet and greet. 7 minutes. 7 minutes of meet and greet.
Okay. Well, I think everybody's here that's going to attend. Bob is off. He can't make it tonight. And John Crawford, Mayor, if you wanted to share the update from John.
Yeah, John is, I'm not sure if he sent, I think he sent this out to the entire committee, but John is resigned from the committee. So Linda and I will work on getting another alderman to be on this committee. So
I would have loved to.
I'm not going to read John's letter if everybody, I think he sent it to everybody.
They're looking for city employees to be on here, and I may or may not have thrown
And,
I have a question with that. If I recall correctly, a few weeks back there was an email sent out about adding some other individuals to increase the diversity of the committee. That came out in an email, but I don't remember us having any kind of discussion or update as far as if that's moving forward or not.
So from this point, for the next few minutes, they're going to talk about adding more diverse people on the committee, which is fine. It's a diversity and inclusion committee, but people are like forgetting what diversity means. This is the sticking point, right? Like, well, you're not diverse. How am I not diverse? It's because there's a lot of white people? I still have to fact check this statistic, but ever since I was a kid growing up, and I think I mentioned this, my dad used to tell us that there's 3.5% of the population, and I believe he was referring to the world, I'm assuming that's how he got that statistic, has blue eyes, and I have blue eyes. So I am in an extremely globally marginalized community. And what do they mean by marginalized? I mean, Linda doesn't know. They talk people that think they're being discriminated against. Is that what it is? Or is it people that are being discriminated against or oppressed? Because then, like, why don't we talk about the untouchables in India? Huh? Nothing. But anyways, diversity would mean that, like, you try to get as many walks of life as possible, right? Like, it should look like the Village People, right? Like, you got a construction worker, you got a fireman, like, every one of these people on here is like a teacher, a pastor, a former nurse. Like, Danny says he's an auditor or of some sort. He dismantles companies or goes through them. You know, never got into the details. He just talks about how he looks at budgets all day. But I mean, I guess that's employment. But but everybody. That's what diversity is, right? Like, shouldn't be about race, right? People should be included in this committee who have a say in our community that are from different walks of life. Like, Bill was a former policeman, right? Everybody here, you know what I mean? There's former HR director. I guess, okay, so they're a little diverse in that regard. But now they want to add more diverse candidates, which means what? Like, and I think Bill mentions it in here, or maybe it's towards the end, that he wants to add, there's people of like the interfaith communities that didn't get an invite to this. There's, you know what I mean? There's people from, but then they start going on tangents like, we need Asians in here. Like, what's the Asian population in Olean? Like, bet it's pretty marginalized, but like, you know, it's one of those things. If people aren't volunteering, if you don't have volunteers to do this, like, if you go like headhunt for people to put on this committee, you're not really going to get a lot. It's going to be like when we did the police reform committee, where the governor's office came out with like, you need people from every one of these categories, and they've had to pick like 3 or 4 people to represent each category. There's like 36 people on the goddamn committee. We got like nothing done, or most people just kept their mouth shut, or most people didn't even show up because they don't care. They got like, hey, you want to do this? Yeah, I fucking guess so. Enough other shit going on, but I'll do it. You know what I mean? You had a handful, like 20 people show up to Zoom meetings, and then there was just like constant, like, if everybody raised their hands, stand 2 minutes to speak, the meeting's over. You don't even get a chance to like repeat back, you know what I mean, like reply to somebody. And you had a couple people monopolizing the entire thing. I don't know. I don't think you're gonna have people that want to do it, and that's the biggest problem. So let's say the Asian population only is like, I don't know, like 300 people. I don't know if that's the right statistic. It seems like it would be pretty low. Like, I graduated with one girl in Olean who was Asian, and 150 people. So that's what, 10, 15. Jesus, math ain't my strong suit, guys. I've been up since 4. 1 out of 157 students. She would have been 60% of 1% of the population if you went by that statistic. Oh, we could do more math. I like math. So even just going to school with her, 0.006 times 14,000, there's 84. Now, I don't know if that statistic's right. We'll wait for the census to come out. Has the census come out yet? Must have. I haven't looked for it. But be nice to know. Funny.
So kind of curious where that stands.
I actually sent a second email today, and I'd like to discuss that tonight.
Okay.
And then this is where Linda talks about the Asian population, which is fine, except for the fact that like some very scared people came to her.
It's been a couple months now.
So this lady reached out to her and said, "I'm afraid."
A person from the Asian population here in our city reached out to me, just being nervous about, if I had heard about anybody else being threatened. And it was back a few months. So
about anybody else being threatened. That leads me to believe that the person that's reaching out to Linda has been threatened. If they've been threatened, there probably would have been a police report, one would assume, hopefully. And that's what that person should do. It was a couple months ago. So I'm assuming it's part of that like whole nonsense where like some guy who had a sex addiction, I believe, and like he drove to this place in Florida or Georgia or something to shut up that like Asian nail salon place that also gave like rub and tugs. And then everybody was like, oh, it's anti-Asian hate. And the guy literally had found Christ and couldn't cope with his like sex addiction and shot the place up. It had nothing to do with the girls being Asian. Then everyone was like, oh my God, the Asian population. That's what it was. So people are dumb, and then people in Olean are like, what if someone shoots up my place of business because I'm Asian? Like, Why didn't it happen 2 years ago? Why didn't it happen last year? Like, yeah, just it's aggravating.
On at the time. And I told that individual, she should let anybody, our police department, or call the mayor's office, or call me if anybody threatened her or her husband. And I never heard back from her. And then a few weeks ago, I just got a little note, thanking me for returning her message.
Did she leave it on her car on like a Post-it? Like, what do you mean you've got a little note? When Linda says a little note, most likely she's referring to the little square when you open up your text message app. There's a little note in the corner for you. Oh, look at somebody sent me something, a little note. And that's probably what she's talking about. It's adorable.
I think sometimes people are afraid to even reach out to anybody.
Why?
To let someone know
Why?
that they feel uncomfortable either by
weaklings and scared
a
of stupid
neighbor
shit. They're scared of their own
or
goddamn
being,
shadows. They're fucking groundhogs.
I don't know, something
Yeah,
being
then, okay,
said
we
to
got a problem
them
here.
in the community. So I think that's one of the reasons I brought it up to the mayor, that we should expand our committee. And
What? So this scared Asian person can call the Asian person on this board and be like, "Hey, you're my representative because we like look alike." That is so racist. I represent the Asian population. Okay, like there's so many. I have a bunch of friends that are Asian. I went to UB. Like, I was in the EOP program. Like I knew so many Asian kids. Like. And there was tons of them. Like it was split. Like some of them were like right off the boat from China, and in Korea and stuff like that. And then there was a couple of them, a lot of them, who had been Americanized. They were like second, third generation, fourth generation, and it's like they would talk about it. Like, yeah, our parents don't really have, like we don't do all that traditional stuff because we're removed that far from it, and so it's like. Are they going to represent the guy that just got off the boat from Asia? They look alike, but that's where the race. If you're going to say things are racist, that's racist. Like, let's have the guy that looks just like this guy. Let's have the guy from like Jamaica represent African Americans. Like, that's I don't know. I'd still find a lot of this stuff nonsense.
reach out to some of these folks. Has
There's
anybody
also
else
out there
had
gunning
anybody
these people down.
reach out to them from any of these other groups?
No, but
Everybody
I think
thinks
that
that
we've
somebody's out
talked
there
about
gunning
this
all these people down
issue
because they
at
look
depth
different.
and at length about people not feeling comfortable reaching out to the city, not feeling comfortable reaching out, voicing concerns, voicing complaints, things like that. So I think the more people we can bring in to these committees, the better off we are, because there is an issue with people not feeling comfortable reaching out in our city. And, we can sugarcoat that, or we could just throw that on the table.
But whose fault is that? Is it Bill's? Is it Linda's? Is it the police chief? No. You know whose fault it is? It's goddamn left-wing media. The right, listen, the right-wing media isn't that much better. I tend to side with them a little bit more, but Jesus H. Christ, if you got the damn narrative, if you're manipulating the narrative and then making people that, like, for the most part must be weaklings, because as soon as they hear something on TV, they're like, oh my God, the gospel. They take it in. It's got to be true. I saw it on the internet. Like, it's nonsense. I pull my hair out at a lot of this stuff. So, like, it is what it is. Like, it is what it is. People are nervous to reach out to figures of authority because they don't want to get in trouble. By who? Who knows? I didn't put the fear in them. You didn't put the fear in them. The police, the mayor, the alderman, nobody put the fear in these people. They watch TV, which is all violence now, because sex and guns and drugs and violence all sells, and that's what happens. And then all of a sudden you raise multiple generations on that theory that, like, if it bleeds, it leads. And then guess what? Then all these people, they just watch TV all day long, and they're desensitized to a bunch of stuff. They're like, oh, but now it's happening to me. It could happen to me. What if it happens to me? And then they go down these rabbit holes. They're like, I can't talk to the police. The police are white. I'm a little Asian lady. And what if somebody comes to my house, wants a rub and tug, and then shoots me? Like, nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing that. It's groupthink. People are getting lumped in one category, and they think they all have to think the same because we were all grouped the same because we look alike. Like, okay, people don't think that way anymore. Guess what? Most of that shit ended with like Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King came through. He swept over the country. Civil rights movement came through, and then guess what? We had generation upon generation upon generation of people since then that haven't that have been raised in a society where you don't be racist. That shit's dumb. You don't see people by their color. But now we're redoing it. We spent years telling people don't look at it that way, and then all of a sudden it was like some revelation where like Sesame Street is now saying, ah ha ha, ah ha ha ha. Guess what, kids? The only thing that matters in life is the color of your skin. Like, no! What? Now you're going against what 3-4 generations have been taught now. Because we got rid of that shit. We were damn near wiped racism out. And Hollywood brought it back. Making people think it shit's still around. I'm not saying it's completely eradicated, but it's like Ebola in your community. How often do you get Ebola? Sure. It can be dangerous. It is very rare. Now everybody's Nazi, right? Everyone's a racist. No, because they're making it up. They changed the definition. I can change the definition of light bulb, and every one of you guys would be a light bulb.
That is an issue, and it keeps coming up.
It keeps coming up.
Well, not just comfort.
Here's another good one. I had a note here. It says, "There goes Linda."
And we're going to do something about it. What do you recommend?
Mm-hmm.
True. Okay. Well, how about Bill? Since you weren't here at the last meeting,
Oh, here
what
comes Linda.
we had started doing is looking at the discrimination and harassment policy of the cities. And a couple questions came up, and I met with Bill. Bill's came back to town Tuesday, so he hasn't had a lot of time. So I just wanted to put that out there to begin with. So I asked him the questions that we ended our meeting with last time. And the questions were, as far as this discrimination and harassment policy, there's a portion in here that says that there's a committee of 3 that will oversee this. And we just wanted to know who those 3 people were. Another question that came about was, where are our personnel files held in the city? Are they in each department, or are they in the clerk's office? Also, where do we stand on our HR
We went
person?
for like 2.5 hours last time, just to
The
come up
next
with a
one
small
was
list of
who
them.
is doing the investigations? And then the other one, and I tried finding this, but I didn't find anything, was when was the last time this policy was updated? And then
don't
I
think Bill's
asked Bill
writing this down,
about the employee handbook that I'm assuming Terry Belly has. So Bill, can you address any of those tonight?
Yep. Can you go get him, Bill?
Yes.
Yeah. Here we
Yes,
go.
the committee of 3, we actually,
He's got the first one. It's like the rest of them fall by the wayside. 'Cause you
most
can't ask
of
somebody like
the,
10 questions at once and be like,
we-
go.
in all honesty, we've had, since I've been mayor, we've maybe had 2 complaints filed for workplace violence.
In 8 years.
And the policy was last updated,
I was there for
revised.
one.
It was,
Still going on.
I think it was around
Still being
I
resolved.
thought
but-
2006. Yeah,
2006, yeah.
I didn't want to put that out there because I thought maybe
An
it
altercation
had been
two people
updated
after work,
since
though.
then, but that's the
No.
one that I,
So that's
Okay.
that's documented that it was updated to 2006, and we're not just thinking it was maybe sometime around 2006. Like, we don't have a month, we don't have.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the world I'm used to when it comes to policies like
And who
this.
gives a
Is
shit?
that it's very
You don't like it,
clear,
change it
concise,
today.
clearly
Put today's date on it.
documented,
I mean, you could.
and
Who gives
it
a
just
shit?
doesn't sound like we're very
Stupid
sure.
policy the state mandates on us.
No, we're not.
We already have internal
No,
policies to
I'm
handle
going
this
on
stuff.
what's on
Almost
there. This
everything that
was
has to do with
by
workplace violence is already
Trident
a crime.
Insurance
It's
Company.
called double
At
jeopardy.
the time, we have our insurance is through Southern Tier Insurance Agency.
All right, 18 minutes and 30 seconds.
Individuals having a conference with the department head, and they work things out. Everything has been working great since then. The one in the building here was early on, I think my first year as mayor, and it was an uncomfortable feeling by one of our employees about another employee. That was investigated very quickly, and the matter was handled, and the victim was well satisfied with the way it was handled. So, do we need some work on these? Sure, we do.
You work on everything. Bill's going to go into that. You need to work on everything, right? So my favorite part, though, is like the city is like the city's like The Office, like a more you don't really. It's like when the Office comes out with a dumb episode that you don't, if the rerun's on, you just skip over it. That's life at the city, right? Like it's dull days, and then there's interesting stuff, but it's nothing workplace violence and sexual harassment. It's usually like Looney Tune residents of the city coming in to be like, I should have to pay taxes. And actually, we'll get over that in the next council meeting. They're talking about the mosquito spray. We shouldn't have to pay for that. The county pays for one company to come to. Well, I'll get into the next meeting. I'm not going to do this now. So, anyways, one person felt uncomfortable. Ooh, sexual harassment. Must be workplace violence. Like, everybody just throw up their little, like, I need my safe space. Where's my pillow? Like, everybody at the city building has an airline pillow that's given to. No, they don't. There's no reason for it. Give people pillows and blankets and teddy bears. You know what they fucking do? They go to bed. You pay people to go to bed? I wish. They don't pay people to go to bed. There's no time for sleep. There's work to be done. Both at the city, making sure these podcasts get done. I got like 6 hours of sleep this week. I'm still running strong. There is shit to do. Don't give me an airline pillow. Don't incentivize me to take a nap. Be like, here's your safe space. We won't watch you. Just go take a nap. Go cry one out. Like, no, fuck this.
But there are things that
All right, we're skipping on. We're skipping on. Somebody came back or left or something. We should all leave.
you could say it would be myself, the Fred Sheridan in the auditor's office, who handles a lot of the HR stuff with his girls, and then the department head.
So it doesn't sound like we have a very safe and unbiased environment for people to truly address these types of issues, honestly, like from their perspective.
How? From whose perspective? The employee, who apparently is being sodomized by having someone say, "Hey, how you doing, Susie?" as you walk down the hall. Have a nice day, Bill. Bill just raped Susie because he said hello. Like, have a nice day. Like, this is the shit we're talking about. And then they're going to do an investigation on that conversation, and then nothing's going to come of it because nothing was there besides have a nice day, how are you doing? And then somebody's going to say that it was unfair that they didn't find more evidence. He held the door for me. His raw masculinity held the door for me, and I felt like I was going to get raped because he was just so overpowering with his masculinity. Like, chivalry is dead. You all lunatics, you there. God damn it.
I understand maybe from your perspective, you feel that it's a safe and comfortable environment, but from the individual filing the complaint, it doesn't sound like we have a situation or an atmosphere where it's conducive to properly address these things. And I'm willing to bet, I would be willing to bet a paycheck that there's several complaints that don't ever get brought up.
How can we file this? Look at Linda stone-faced, Dan Gayton stone-faced, Chris is bobbing his head, and the same with Michelle and Charlene. Watch, here it comes.
Because of the way the system is, we have a check in the box system
nope, there's
where
Bob head. There
we
they are.
have policies,
they're
but at
not
the end
unison,
of the day,
but
we
they're
just
bobbing their
play
heads.
king of the castle and do what we want to do.
This is where they all beat up on Bill. Like, fuck them. Like, that's there's all. I'm going to bet a paycheck that nobody gets complained against. Who? Nobody, like, how do I get your paycheck? How do I win this bet? Who are you betting with? You betting with the general public, or are you betting with Bill? I'll get Bill the information. I'll split the paycheck with him. Like, I mean, this is ridiculous. You got to poll every city worker to see if any of them had ever thought about filing a complaint, but didn't because they felt like they were going to get, like, raped by a form. I don't know.
And so it's not a safe and conducive environment for the employees of the city, is what I'm hearing.
And
Yeah,
I,
we're all living in
well,
tyranny and fear.
and I disagree with you.
Okay.
Good.
You
You
know,
should.
we have, every employee in the city, they know that they have a problem, it will be addressed. And
So-
we may
But
not-
we have a
may-
policy that we don't follow.
We
Who
do.
gives a
So,
fuck?
so that's telling me
We shouldn't even have
the-
a policy.
the red flag for me is how
Police
many other
department handles
policies
workplace
that we
violence because
have
those are
are we not
crimes.
following? And
When
what's
you
the
make them
true
arbitrary make-believe,
atmosphere
then,
and
yeah,
the
we can
true
write a policy on
climate
whatever you
of the
want.
environment within the city employees? Like, to
So
me, that's a
I-
problem.
So I may lose signal, but what I think, if I'm understanding you right, Gary, because I feel like in the schools we have a lot of this issue because a lot of the administration, a lot of the teachers, they're all friends, can't be impartial. So therefore, for me, the type of person I am, I'll go and I'll make my complaint. I won't worry about backlash because I don't care. That's
Yeah,
just,
good for you.
I want to be
You
treated
sound like
fairly.
John Doherty.
But I feel like there
Doherty
are
gives no
other
shits.
people who would not want to go
And
and
that's their
file a
fucking
complaint
problem.
for fear that it may get pushed under the rug. They may not be taken
Yeah, if they push it under the
seriously,
rug, you're no
Exactly.
or
better off
then
than you
they're a
already were.
target. So, Bill, I
Mhm.
And
think
if you're a
that's what
target,
he's
guess what? You need
saying.
to learn to defend yourself. There's no
So,
reason
as
that people
far
should
as
not be
having
defending
a group
themselves.
of people who maybe
There's some
aren't
people that
as
can't,
connected,
like little children that we smother with masks.
right? Is that what you're saying,
Yeah,
Gary?
that's
Or-
essentially what I'm saying. Like,
Right.
I'm not saying that issues aren't addressed or handled. I mean, they may or may not be. Obviously, I'm not on the inside. But
you're
I
betting
know
a
from an
paycheck that you
outside
are?
perspective, number one, if I have a policy
I feel
that
like
I can't
we're owed
rely
that
on,
paycheck because he has
and
brought
that's,
zero
to
evidence
me, that's
forward.
a problem. That's not a safe and conducive environment for me as an employee because
Good.
now
I'm
I
glad
don't
you
have
don't work for
anything
the
to
city.
reference
I
for my
can't wait till
protection
Bill
because right
mops
from
the
jump,
floor
the
with you during
policy
the next
is
election.
meaningless. So that's the first thing.
It's
The
the last
second
thing
thing
I
is,
want.
you know, if I do bring something up because of how people are connected, because it doesn't seem like, I'm not saying that it's not,
I
but
almost
the
wish that, like,
perception
you
or the
lost and Bill
perspective could
invited
be
you to
that
be
it's
mayor
not
for
an
a day,
unbiased
and you could like shadow him.
investigation or view
That
because
would
there
be
are so many
amazing.
people
And
interconnected.
you'd come through and be like,
that
I want to work
I'm
here.
not
All these
gonna
people
feel
are
safe
super
addressing
nice.
that. I'm not gonna
Nobody's
bring it
getting
up.
raped.
That, to me,
Like,
that's not a
You're
productive
just gonna be like,
atmosphere.
wow, your eyes are gonna open
And
up.
a lot of people
Holy
aren't like you
smokes,
and I, Michelle. Where
folks.
at the end of the day, you know, it is what it
People-
is. Like,
This
you know,
isn't just
exactly.
like some big
but
orgy that's going
a lot
on.
of people aren't. A lot of people aren't that forward, and they'll stay quiet and they'll be miserable, and that affects their job. That affects the other people around the city. That's going to affect whether or not, you know, we start talking about recruitment. Like, there's a lot of jokes that
Right.
there's.
But
All right,
I-
so they
I
literally
know
spent
last
15
time we
minutes here
talked
beating
a lot
up Bill
about,
and talking about how dumb these policies are, and reminding us.
about that.
Holy crud! So 33 minutes and 45 seconds.
that you're looking at then. Is that right, Bill? That's what you're, because clearly you didn't know what policy we were referencing.
No,
So we
no.
still don't have an update.
I'm looking at the Workplace Violence Prevention Program.
Right. We wanted to know when the discrimination and harassment policy had been updated. So
Yeah.
we still don't have an answer on that.
No,
So
I don't have an answer for
I
you.
wonder what's in the
Okay,
background
fair
of
enough.
his place.
And
Like,
and
he always
then
does
I
like
guess
this
my
blacked
other
out
question
green
is
screen.
everybody seems to
I
agree
feel
that
like you
the
just see all
HR
this
person is
BDSM
of
stuff like
monumental
hanging in the
importance.
background. And,
Yes,
But our one candidate, has that one candidate been interviewed yet?
no.
Okay.
No.
So it's not that important.
It's very important.
Fuck you.
But
It doesn't seem to be.
It is. It's just been a matter of timing. So.
So I'm just gonna say this because like it's frustrating. We've talked about this human resource person for a few months now, and then we get the policies and we want to update them. And I understand that it's only been 2 incidents in your time as mayor, but 2006 was a long time ago, and there's a lot of stuff that's changed. So we need to just have the best practice for
I
everyone
feel like since I was
involved,
born, everything just
and
got worse.
a
They
place
keep like
for
making
people to
stuff
go to work
happen that
and
doesn't
feel
exist,
safe.
and, then
And
just,
if
they
they
make
have a
rules that
concern,
just hammer down and regulate
that they
folks
know
for
they can
breathing,
go
and
to somebody and they're going to be heard. It's going to be kept confidential because that's a huge issue. It's a
Yep.
huge issue in the school. I'm sure it's a huge issue in the city. Everybody knows everybody. People talk. Like, I've heard about stuff that's happened in the school that I should not have heard about. So I feel like that's where we're coming from. And we just need to try to find a way to make that better. So if we had an HR person, that would be one, but then we would have to figure out those other 2 people on this 3-team
oh
position,
my god.
right? Because there's 3.
So they're hammering this to death.
If that's what
HR position, and then let's listen to Uncle Gary.
Like a let's check the box because this is something we should have. I feel every time we get moving towards some type of
Oh, let's put that back a little bit right here.
Perhaps. I don't know, but you know,
I'm just
I don't know.
I'm
what
very
else.
frustrated. I feel like dog and pony right now. Honestly, I feel like a dog and pony show. I feel like a let's check the box because this is something we should have.
Let's talk about this. Is this your support group? For real. Is this your support group? Like, I feel like I'm being mistreated. My ex-wife is really mean to me, and I just can't take it. Like, no, this is his support group. Like, I feel like I'm being treated like a dog and a pony and just led around on a leash, and like we don't care about your feelings, bro. You don't care about anybody else's. Why would you have to care about yours in this? This is his support group. That was my note.
Every time we get moving towards some type of actual progress, there's some reason, some excuse, actual progress can't take place. And I think it's ridiculous. I think the fact that we're looking at a policy
more regulations
that doesn't have any kind of update
Every one of
on
those
it,
things slows
doesn't
down things
have
by
any
a
kind of
week.
information
We need
on
15
it.
policies.
2
Guess
weeks
what?
ago,
There's
we're
15
still
weeks.
waiting for the information. We weeks ago closed the bid for the HR person, only had 1 candidate apply. One.
Because
Not
nobody wants
10,
to do
not
it.
15,
It's
not
part-time.
3, 1.
Even
And
if
we're
it was
still
a
waiting
part-time,
on that.
nobody
I
would
feel
want to
like
do it
the value
because it's
as far as what we're actually
candidates
bringing
do you
to the
have in the
table
city of Olean?
and how
many
we're
people are
perceived
HR
as a committee is a check in the box.
Charlene's
Just
an
like
HR
the
rep,
time went by
or used to be.
way
Why
before the
didn't she
police
wanna do
reform
it?
committee was ever
She
even
like Bill.
established. Weeks and weeks went by before that happened.
She don't
And
like Bill,
nobody
so
wants
what
to
do you
address
do?
the elephant in the room.
Bill's not the mayor.
I'm tired.
What happens if you have
I
the mayor
give
you
my
like and then
time.
Bill becomes
I work
the mayor?
70, 80 hours a
quit?
week, and I put my time into this. And then to constantly spin my wheels
He's
in
still
the
crying, by
same
the way.
rut, and everybody just walk away like, okay, we'll talk next week.
Yep.
And nothing
That's Linda. You just
substantial is
quoted Linda. That was a
actually
nice Linda impression you
happening.
did there,
Can
Gary.
we just acknowledge the fact that right now we're a check in the box committee? Because whatever conversations are happening behind closed doors about all these different things that we want to do, they don't actually progress anywhere. And I think that's a problem, and that's a problem from the top down. Because if the HR person,
maybe it's a plus from the top down.
I'm sorry, I'm stuck on that. One person, it shouldn't take weeks to interview one person. I'm sorry, you can't justify that to me. Not if it's truthful.
Now
And
you're
Gary,
arguing from an
I
emotional
agree.
standpoint.
I understand your frustration because that's where I'm at. It's like we're working to try to make a change. That's one of the reasons why I put in to be on this committee, because everything that was going on in our world, we need a change. But that's like, are we just checking a box? Because I don't want my time to be wasted. My time is very precious, whether I was off on vacation or I'm working
Yeah, I got
now.
a lot of notes here.
And
So, Gary was speaking, and I had the word progress written down. Welcome to Olean, pal. I don't know. I went with a Die Hard quote there. And then he started complaining about how it takes so long. Welcome to government. And then about 45 seconds later, it was Boo hoo hoo. This is government. And then, oh, well. Oh, wait a minute. That's to her.
A good example is the police reform committee. Now, Vernon spent a lot of hours on that committee, a lot of hours away from stuff. We used to get in the car and go to like Buffalo or whatever. That stopped because he was dedicated to that and working hard. That's done. And now the council is going back and they're reviewing and going over it. And there's this question, that question.
Boo hoo. This is government. Like, that's how it works. If your goddamn governor didn't step in and say, hey guys, we need you to pick 45 different people from all walks of life that sound like they would be on the narrative of CNN and tell us what you think. Submit us a plan of something that you might change. That would meet our woke narrative. And then we submitted a bunch of stuff and they were like, yay! And then they're like, do you want us to implement it? Like, no, we don't give a shit. We just want to see that you could write a list. Like, okay. Well, some things came out of that committee. Things I don't agree with. Like the Civilian Review Board, the communist takeover, the undermining of the government, the undermining of the the election process. Then they sit there and they... Now, all of a sudden, like, Vernon spent a lot of time writing that policy. And last night, well, according to how we've been reviewing these meetings, the previous night from this committee, which I'm assuming Vernon's in the car with her, 'cause she looks like she's in the passenger seat. Otherwise, she's zooming and driving, and she's looking down, like, at the steering wheel. He's sitting there, like, they're sitting, like, I've spent 50, 60 hours just writing policy, let alone even arguing it on the floor. I worked 80 hours a week for myself. And I had rental properties, which were another like 10 on top of that. And I was still an alderman, which I used to put 20 out. God, I had like 100 and some odd hours a week I would put in. Like, how many hours are in a day? Let's see here. Kevin can't do math this week. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Well, 168 hours. And you say 9 times 5 is... Wow, Kevin can't do math today, huh? Was it 56? 45. Jesus. Yeah, I can't do math. So, 168 hours in a week minus 45. Did I get 120? Oh, wait. I got 5. You don't sleep 2 days a week? Jesus, Kevin. 7 times 5. That's dumb. Okay. 7 times 9 is 49. 63. Wow, see? I'm a little shot-ski when it comes to math today. So 63. So that gives us 105 hours a week. Like, literally, I was going to work, was working on rentals, in addition to going to work, and I was still an alderman. Getting calls, multitasking, taking down phone calls, had an earbud in my ear. Yeah, hello, hey, oh yeah, well, I'll make a call and we'll get that street sign done. Pop, 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 driving to another job site, bloop, bloop. Hey, call over DPW. Hey, we need a street sign done. Blah, blah, blah. Then I started working for the city. I still work 40 hours a week on my construction company. I still putting out podcasts and reviewing and critiquing this stuff. I probably put in more hours now doing this than I did when I was an alderman. Still making suggestions. Well, I still call my alderman. Hey, how you doing? I got a suggestion for you. I was watching your committee meeting the other day. Blah, blah, blah. Like, I still do that. Old constituents still call me and do that stuff. Guess what? We don't hop in the car and just drive to Buffalo for no freaking reason. Our kids are still home. I drive the kids to school. Or I'll pick them up from school. I've tailored my work shifts around that. I've tailored my after hours stuff around that. I take the kids to jiu-jitsu, build them self-confidence. Like, teach them discipline. I spend time with them. I take them to work with me. They get to meet new and interesting people. They get to learn about things like electricity, things that Daddy gets to work with. They think it's awesome. We've got this project out back. We work on the RV together. But I'm still, guess what? I was working 20 hours a week and just being an alderman when I was an alderman. I was writing, and that's on average. You know what I mean? Because there's some weeks that, like, literally I would work less construction jobs because I had to write a huge piece of legislation. And then I would submit it to the city attorney, and he would cut it all up and send it back to me. And then I would send it to somebody else, and I would steal something from some other, like municipality. And I'd say, hey, does this work in that place? And then he would do the same thing, and we'd go back and forth with legislation, and we'd say, okay, hey, this thing looks good. Now I have to take this baby of mine and pitch it. And I owned it the entire portion of the way. Any bit of legislation I submitted, I owned. And guess what? You don't think they just said, oh, Kevin worked really hard on that. Let's pass it. It's so sweet of him to work so hard on this. No. They gutted him. I presented them like my baby. And they got their fucking gutting knives out and they boned it like it was like a fresh fish. Guts of my stuff everywhere. What I got back was like tiny little bits of fillet of what I hope would have been great legislation. And you know what? It doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you don't even get anything back. It's like when you submit a cow into the USDA and they say fail, and then they actually force the cow to be just incinerated. And you don't get any of your cow back from the USDA test facilities. Work on the farmers market long enough, you talk to the meat vendors, they bitch about the USDA all the time. But it's the same thing. Like sometimes you just get the pieces back. Sometimes you get, more meat than other ones you submit, and sometimes they just incinerate it. So, hold on. Boohoo's
Double work. That's not fair to people who put in their time.
No.
And he spent a lot of time researching, like weekends, nights, and I get it. But not when you are going back and basically saying, okay, this committee met, they came up with this policy, and now we're going to go have the council come back and review it and give their 2 cents and let's say they want to change this and change that. I mean, I sat in one of the meetings when they were going through it, and everybody's asking Vernon, all these questions, and it's like, he already did that research. It's right in front of you. Read it. Have your questions ready.
So a lot of times the legislation isn't presented to you until that night. I'm assuming they probably did. I'm not going to go to their defense and say that they're not at fault for not doing their homework. Most aldermen don't. I'd spend a lot of time reading. I'd spend a lot of time answering phone calls. There's other ones that just they ignore their phones. They make decisions on the spot. And a lot of times, it's good practice to make decisions on the spot because a lot of times you're just thrown into this big ball of wax and people are just like, you're getting it from all angles. You need to be able to be quick on your feet and make decisions. Decision making is a big part of it. You are a decision maker. You don't have to be an idea man to be an alderman because most people aren't. Our idea men are far and few between. Because true idea people have real ideas. A lot of people don't have shit. They come to you with like these cockamamie ideas that are just like dog shit wrapped in a bow, and they're not really ideas. But that's besides the point. Like, yeah, that's the process though. It always goes back to the council to get gutted, and yeah. So, boo-hoo.
And figure out something and move forward. Because to me, it seems like that's not wanted in the city. This diversity committee, I don't know where we're going with it. And the policies, we're going to create them. Do we have to give our policies we create to the council to look at?
No, they'd be
I don't want to do that. Because then that's saying the time I spent trying to do that was for nothing. So
it just seems like things aren't.
I don't even know why we're
reviewing
it. I'm actually probably reviewing it just to add the balance.
And I would also like to have like the policies and stuff more than just the day of or a day before, because like I have to-do lists and sometimes that's not on there because that's just how I organize my life. But like I just want to see progress, and I feel like we're at a standstill. We talked about having more people from other ethnic groups in our committee. That we got that email August 11th, and now we're talking about it again almost a month later.
Going on vacation.
All the policies. We worked on the social media policy forever. Now I feel like we're going to work on this harassment policy and all the other policies. And
That's
we have
tough
to
work.
get it
Doesn't
up to
take you
date
years.
with the times
Unless
that
you're
we're
gonna
living in
completely
now.
uproot, like
Not
dissolve
what
the
it
city,
was
reform.
back in
You better have
2006
something
or
already written.
2000,
It's gonna take you 10 years
because
just to
things
write
have
something.
changed. And we got to make it a safe place for everybody to work, and so they can feel confident that they can go. If they have a problem, they don't have to be uncomfortable.
This is where the big problem is, though. You're making up stuff. There is no problem. You're saying there is a problem because you feel like this exists when it doesn't. It's the same argument why this committee exists in the first place. People are saying that everything is racist. Racism almost hardly exists in our society, and people are finding racism under every rock. They're lifting rocks, finding dirt and ants, and saying that's racist. They're coming up with reasons. Right now, the way Michelle makes it sound, we're all like molested at the city building. We just gotta get it to stop, guys. Rape culture, like it's nothing's happening like that. Is there some backward shit at the city? Yeah, but that shit gets corrected on its own. Get motherfuckers like me correcting stuff left and right. Like, this isn't how it's supposed to happen. Boom, correct it. Because I'm an assertive individual and I'll stand up for the people that don't want to make comments. We need more Kevin Dohertys, but no, you guys want Kevin Dohertys to lose their job and their kids to starve to death, so that we don't have any more Kevin Dohertys, and then the entire world will be inherited by the meek, and then the meek won't say anything, and then you'll give them ammunition and say, well, you've been molested your whole life because you weren't allowed to say anything. Like, no, put the onus on them. Give them their agency back. The onus is on them. If they don't want to speak, that's their goddamn problem. Then there must not be a problem. 90% of the world's problems, if you see a problem, it's with you. That's it. That's how the world works. If I don't like the way my dog barks, maybe it's not my dog, maybe it's me. If my son is not acting right, maybe it's the way that I raise him. Everybody has to have agency. He also has to be responsible for himself. So from his perspective, he is not acting right. That is his problem. Problems can go in multiple directions. People just need to understand. You have to give people their agency. You have to give people the ability to be not the victim. Not everything can be a victim mentality. Victimhood is like probably the greatest culprit of why we got to this shithole of society right now. Kevin rant. Sorry. "41 minutes, 25 seconds. Here it comes."
Like, I mean, I was there at one point.
A comment that I'd like to make is I'm questioning whether or not council is qualified to review the policies, because there needs to be what do they have, those professional people that go to court, those experts?
Okay. Let's get into this. Holy crap. How so? How are they not qualified? They're elected. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. If I swing a hammer and I call myself a carpenter, you hire me for carpentry work, you don't like my work, you have to bring another expert. You know who my expert is? Me, because I'm the carpenter, right? Like, if I was a mason, I actually had that happen in court. A guy made us lay block in the rain. We explained to him his wall was going to sway a little bit, and we did everything we could. Swayed a little bit. Still structurally sound. Didn't move. 20 years. It won't move for another 30. He'll be long dead by the time that wall ever even thinks about moving. Unless he does something to it. But yeah, like, and the judge looked at him and said, "Where's your expert?" He goes, "Well, he didn't bring an expert. He is the expert. He's a mason. He put the block wall up. That makes him a mason. That gives him the qualifications to be a mason expert. He doesn't need to. His own testimony is the expert testimony. Where is your mason?" Hi. I I love winning. So I love our judicial system. It makes me happy. So I got one of them filters. I just want to make sure it. Ooh, not control end. Alt end. I don't know if I just activated it or not. No. There. It did it on this one. There we go. All right. Sorry. Anyways, no. And they're elected officials. You're not going to, you're going to get exactly what you have in this committee. You're going to get like a random, except you're probably going to get somebody who's more willing to take the position because they're going door to door knocking. There's a lot more work to being an alderman than being an appointed individual on a committee. I was going to say crony of the mayor. That's where I was going with that one. But they're not cronies of the mayor. The mayor is placating in this, and he should dissolve this committee instantaneously. But he's not going to let it happen because they're not going to let it happen. And last thing we all need is our favorite alphabet people coming up, telling us how we're all racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, and a bunch of other stuff, and that this committee needs to exist because we made some people cry. And they must be of the marginalized community because of the way they look and the color of their skin. Because apparently that shit matters. Doesn't matter to me. I'll argue with them no matter what color their skin is, if their ideas are wrong. If their ideas are right, then I'll listen to their ideas, though. I listen to each and every one of these meetings. Half the people in this city do not listen to any of this nonsense. They just go, it's nonsense. The problem is these people are speaking, and they're speaking to the mayor, and then they're presenting to the common council, and so they assume that it's a representative body. The problem is this is like 10% of the population. We're letting them suggest policy, and it's going to end up for the worst. So that's why.
If somebody's not well versed in workplace policies and sexual harassment policies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, they're starting from ground zero. So it makes sense that the attorney would review it as our, final, checkpoint. But for the council members, I'm not sure that any of them are really qualified by experience to be able to promptly and quickly review a policy that we've updated and then, say yay, nay, whatever. I'm just not. I
agree. And from sitting in the council meeting when they were going over the police review board, a lot of it's not what they feel should be in there. It's their opinion. And we want to do what's right for the city of.
And that's your fucking opinion. Jesus Christ.
Residents who have had issues in the past, who aren't comfortable coming forward. That's with no matter what policy we have. So I feel like, and I'm not just saying this because Vernon's putting in all this time. Well, part of it's that because he worked hard on it, but the other part is it's just frustrating. Why do it? Why not just have the council make the policy?
They're supposed to make the policy. They're supposed to base it on their life experiences and their representation from their ward and people they've talked to, and that's their job. That's all it is. That's the only qualifications they get. That's how democracy works. But we probably should pass this policy because Vernon worked really hard on it. And 1 minute, 45 seconds later. I'm tired of arguing this point.
Set up to where the council makes the policies. The councils vote on the policy, but we don't do it without legal input, legal suggestions, legal, if they tell us, excuse me, something's written the wrong way or something has been written and that can't be enforced, that's what they're there for.
So if they're there for that, what are we here for? If that's what they do, then we need to be reviewing their work. And then it needs to go to the attorneys, it seems to me.
Your advisory.
If they're there to do the policies, then
you point out some problems we've got.
I'm confused.
You suggest some possible suggestions for fixing them, and they fix them.
Well, this committee was the idea of actually the mayor and Mr. Gonzalez.
Linda's
So,
deflecting now.
you know, if you want to ask either one of them why we're doing this, feel free. Listen, I have
Well,
a lot
it's
of
a
other
cop
things I
out.
could be
You know,
doing on
Linda, you
Wednesday night.
just made a very good point. You said it was the mayor and Mr. Gonzalez's idea.
It was that
God
because he
damn
was
them for
council
having
president
ideas.
at the time. And he's the one
Butt
that
wipes.
said, let's move forward on this. Let's have a committee.
When's
It
the
was
last
at
time you
the
thought
same
about that?
time with the
When's the
police
last time you used the
reform.
term butt wipe?
And we moved on it. That's
I
how
miss that
things
term.
work in the city. Someone
Well-
brings a suggestion to the council. We put together some ideas and we move on it. I'm not
Well,
sure
I guess
where.
Paul can be, Mr. Gonzalez can be John's replacement then.
Yeah, right.
And
Well-
he can help us and we can work on these policies. But I feel like the committee was, we have great ideas, but
No,
I
you
feel
don't.
like we're all over the place and
Nope.
I don't see it.
Put a
I
note
don't
here.
see
It's
any
not
end
great
result. I
ideas.
feel like every time we suggest something, something stops it. Whether it's like a personal opinion, somebody's offended, something like that. So I just want to be able to, everybody can have their own opinion, but we need to move forward. As a woman of color who's had issues with police officers in the city,
I hate the fact that people my skin has pigment. I'm not albino. Does that make me a man of color? Because I've identified as a man, and I also identify as having color to my skin. No, I hate a lot of these stupid terms where people are like, as a white male, as a woman of color, as this, as that. Who gives a shit? You're not representing a group of people. This is part of the group think. Like, as a woman of color, like, what if you speak for, like, what if there's 10 and you speak for one, maybe like one other, right? Like, and then you don't represent the whole group. As a woman of color, and then I also hate the accusations that are unfounded, like, because you, like, God, it was one of the council meetings. No, it was one of the town hall meetings last year. A former employee of mine brought up that she was there because she's a woman of color, right? Like, that's the terminology now, I guess. She brought up, she was like, I've had issues with the police, blah, blah, blah. What are they? Present them, right? Like, you can't just say, I've had problems with the police department. Like, what problems? Well, there's one time this cop was walking by me and I stepped in gum because the cop was there. And so I couldn't go that way, and I ended up stepping in gum because the cop, if he had not been there, I would have been able to not step in gum. Like, well, that is a problem because you stepped in gum. Is it an important one? Does it truly have to do with the police department? No, it doesn't. Guys are all Looney Tunes. But anyways, she said, I don't have to present my problem. That's my truth. I love that line. It's great. It's great. I don't have to tell you, like, I was raped by a cop. When? I don't have to tell you when. I don't have to I don't even acknowledge that it exists. The fact that I said it means it exists. You know why? Because I'm a person of color. Like, you now hold, like, you just now have unrefutable truth that just spews out of you? Is that what that term means? No, it doesn't. I've had problems with the police department. What problems have you had, Michelle, with the police department? You, nor Vernon, Alderman Robinson will not tell us. They keep bringing up problems they've had with the police department, and they refuse to tell us. And I'm starting to get sick and tired of hearing all these accusations against the police department, and then no one can back them up because we're not allowed to ask them their truth, because that's part of confidentiality. The problem is, it's not a part of confidentiality, because you've now admitted that you are a complainant, because you are presenting publicly that you are a complainant, but you refuse to give us evidence of your complaints. Your complaint is just like that stupid clause they pointed out in the last meeting where it says you have the opportunity to refute, like take this form back. You can retract this form. Why would anybody retract it? I'd be retracting it too if I were you, and just say making false or unverified accusations against people. Ta-da! That's it. You made a mistake. They gave you an out. It wasn't that you were being muscled by the predator in the situation. No, they're giving you an out because you fucked up. People get emotional, and that's what happens, and that's what's going on here.
Being followed. I want change. And I want that same change for the school district that I work for. And I'm on that committee. But I don't feel like I'm going to get that change. I feel like I'm getting resistance. And that's where I'm frustrated. And that's where I'm kind of ready to hang up the hat.
Because you're not being helpful. Your change is not helpful. Nobody wants your change. Your change is not being helpful. You're making mountains out of molehills. You're taking people's complaints and saying, listen, everybody's being raped as they walk through the doors because masculinity and all this other stuff. Like that's how people are defining all this. So, I mean, like, I don't want that change. I don't want to go to work and like say hi to Susie or Sally or whatever hypothetical we had earlier. Suzanne and Bill walk by each other in the hallway, and all of a sudden, like, I can't even make eye contact. I'm supposed to be like a timid little mouse, walk through the hallway, and I'm not a timid little mouse, so I'm not going to do that. But now, because I'm making contact with somebody in their eyes, which I was taught as a child by the school districts, like, you look at somebody when they're talking to you. You make eye contact when two people are communicating, right? That. I'm going to get a lot of slack for this podcast. Because I'm starting to give less and less of a shit as I go along. Like, the swearing is getting a little bit higher. Whatever. Kids don't watch this stuff, so it's boring.
I don't feel like I'm
Meetings,
being useful and helpful to make a change for
'cause you're not.
the people of color for the city of Olean and other backgrounds.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Nope.
No, it does. It does.
No, it doesn't. Oh, here comes.
I mean, does anybody else agree? Am I
One more minute from here.
Make a lot of this stuff happen. Like, these are preregs that should be addressed and should be moving. I mean, if the whole purpose of this is, hey, let's just feel good and make it look like the city wants diversity and inclusion, because the action behind the words isn't there.
Because your words are jumbled. This is what I wrote down. Your words are jumbled, folks. Diversity and inclusion is misleading. They want more diverse people on here. No, they want more people that Hollywood says are marginalized. That CNN says are marginalized. They don't want diversity and inclusion. They didn't include me. They don't want to include me. I'm a naysayer. We got to have one narrative. Kevin doesn't agree with the narrative. Kevin can't be a part of the club. That's fine. I'm still going to critique the hell out of your little ceremonial nonsense club here. But no, that it's super misleading. Diversity and inclusion. My ass. There's a rift in the African American community in our area, and like I have many black friends, and you know what they don't like? They don't like the fact that they're like, hey, there's some guys up there trying to fight the police department, and there's guys like us that support them. We're just not going up there. So we support the police department. We don't have to. We have a Blue Lives Matter flag in front of our house, and that's all that matters. You know what I mean? And they're not being invited up there to this diversity inclusion committee, and a bunch of them would actually probably join if you asked them. They're not gonna go out of their way to go this because they know it's all nonsense. But they're not, like, and a few of them told me they've been called Uncle Toms and whatever. Like, they get in those pissing matches with one another, and it's like any community. Just, they're not being this diversity inclusion committee is not diverse, and it's not inclusive. It's an exclusive club of woke thinkers that are changing the policy to follow their narrative. That's what it is. That's all it is. Are they about diversity? No, they're about caste systems. They're about, and some of them probably don't even believe in Marxism. I think that what's going to end up happening is they're just pawns. They've been duped into thinking that everything, thanks to Hollywood and CNN, that everything is all about race. It's all that we have to care about or give a shit about. And that poor girl from The Bachelor and yada yada yada. Yeah, that's what they're under the impression of, and they're doing the bidding of the Marxists. And communism can suck it because it ain't happening.
It's just not. I'm sorry. It really is not.
Oh, crybaby.
What needs to happen?
That's a great suggestion. Actually, I talked to Bill and he's talked to me about, maybe changing up the committee and doing different things. But I think you have a good point. And I think, and for instance, just reviewing these questions, Bill wasn't here last time. So I'm sorry if
Could've
we're
watched the
reviewing
video.
something we already
like that.
talked to.
Nice
We
little
talked
tip,
about,
Michelle.
but is it fair to Bill for us to just
I
say,
watched the
well,
video.
here's the questions, give us the
I'll agree
answer,
with
and
her on
let's
that one.
move on.
You could watch the video.
No, I don't think it's fair to Bill to do that. But if it wasn't the first time, if it was the first time, I don't think anybody would have an issue with it. But
Right.
I just feel like we always end up in the same spot.
And I'm gonna beat up on you, Bill.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
That's what you get paid the big bucks for, to beat the hitman.
Now, we're used to it.
Yeah, so
I understand what everybody's saying. I think that's Charlie, and I think that's a great suggestion that we reevaluate what the purpose of this committee is, and
Shit can.
and we come back to you
Brush it up.
and get the information you need. And I apologize. I was kind of at a disadvantage. I was working off of the wrong
Don't give in to
thing
the mob,
today, or
Bill.
when I came
Don't
back.
give in to the
I'm
mob.
not going to apologize for taking a vacation.
No.
I did
You
that.
don't
and,
have to.
But and it's been hectic. So I do apologize for the HR person. There's been some conversations going on. Do we hire part-time? Do we try to go full-time here? So I will get the interview done. I'm going to make a suggestion here that we take a little bit of a break and give us the time to reevaluate, get back to you, and come back with a full commitment to this committee that we are going to make it work.
I think all of us are definitely here because we want to affect change. We
Yeah, we
want to
know
be
why you're
here.
here.
We want things to progress, things to ultimately get better. I think we can all, I hope I can speak for everybody when I say that, because, it's definitely consuming and it can get frustrating and aggravating.
Cancer is consuming and aggravating and frustrating.
I think, a suggestion that maybe I'll make, I know we keep hearing, hey, full-time for HR, we got to wait till budget time. I mean, when we need to spend money, we throw it in front of the council and ask them about it. I mean, I don't know, maybe this is something worth throwing in front of the council and asking them to spend money on it, and adjust the budget accordingly and do what needs to be done for the following year. I don't know. To me, go ahead. I'm sorry, Michelle.
No, I agree with you because I think that would be better. That would help us. Then we could have somebody else who could work with us, who has the expertise to do these policies. If we have a guideline, like we should have a guideline
You
for
hired the HR director.
what
Guess
needs
what?
to be in
He's
there, what
part-time.
doesn't,
So, you're
so
gonna take
that
part-time away from
when we
all
go to
those
work on
employees
it,
that you're worried
we
about.
do it, and then we're not saying, "Oh no, we
All
can't.
you're
It can't
worried
be
about
that way
is
or
those-
whatever."
the
That's the
employees are being
frustrating part.
sodomized.
Yeah,
It's
So
like
that
and I
we
mean,
can
if-
keep moving forward at a regular
They're-
pace.
they're-
If-
they're
Chris,
official-
what do you-
whatever
If the
building
council
they go
says
to.
Chris,
no to
what do you
full-time,
think?
the council says
We've
no to
heard-
full-time, but I mean,
Chris-
it's.
Chris, what do you think? We've heard from everybody.
No, I'm here basically agreeing. I think if we are tasked to review the policies, then we need to like finish that through and make sure that we keep moving forward each time. And I know, like, I was not looking at I know, Bill, you were looking at the workplace violence policy. That policy references the sexual harassment policy, which is actually called the bias and harassment policy, but only covers sexual harassment. So there's a lot of like these policy loopholes that I know that I'm not saying anything new. We've been talking about for a long time.
Right.
So I would just kind of agree with everyone that, like, if we have a succinct idea of what our next steps are and what our next steps should be, like what we're commissioned to do, that would be beneficial.
I think, can I make a suggestion? I think between John and myself and the mayor, maybe we could go to the council, because we take other things out of the contingency. Maybe is a time to ask for the other half of this position to come out of contingency. I think just going through these policies and,
it does not have to
you
go
know,
into the
seeing
year,
how outdated
the
they are
following budget year.
and cumbersome. You know, that policies shouldn't be something that you need a lawyer to read or understand. And I think we just need, as all of you have pointed out, someone to lead us through this change. And I think the perfect thing for the HR person to do is be the chairman of this committee. I think that way we're listening to someone that's their profession. I'm a nurse. I'm not an HR person. Never, you know, even suggested I was. So I think the next step should be Bill should interview this person. If that person's willing to work part-time or possibly go full-time, if he thinks he or she would like to go full-time, John and I can go to the council, see if we can take the extra money out of contingency and then move on.
Linda BS,
listen, I'm just as frustrated as you guys are. I have lots of other things I could be doing.
No, you're doing
but
them,
I
and you're
think
giving
we
them
need
bullshit
to,
lines, that's all you're
and
doing.
we did bring this up at our last meeting, with an HR person, they can go through and point out exactly what needs to be changed in these policies.
Ugh.
And we're doing the work and then we're going to hire someone to do it. It's like, and I think Michelle said it, we're doing it twice. And that's silly. And it's a waste of everybody's time. So that would be my suggestion. And I'll get together with Bill and John and see if we can do that. And I think that would be beneficial to everybody on this committee to do it that way.
I think even
And
asking a question is progress.
Right.
And I think I remember one of the things that this committee was charged with was reviewing policy. Now, there's a big difference between reviewing policy and writing policy.
Right.
Right. So there's that fine line that we need to figure out where we're at. Are we reviewing the policy or are we writing the
critiques, and then
that's number two, whole different ball games.
Yep.
And
hold on.
you know, so I'm with. Maybe, yeah, you're right, Chris. We work on some of them things. That's to say, you know, here's kind of where we're leaning in these new world. Then it kind of can help structure the rest of the policies and what we're looking for as a whole. Is that what I hear you
We're
saying,
here for you,
Chris?
Gary.
It is.
We're your support structure.
I just want to maybe apologize a little bit for being a little too aggressive. Maybe I'm just passionate about this. I really want to see some kind of change, and it's really frustrating to feel like we're not affecting that change, especially when there's so many people that are currently affected by
We're here for you, Gary.
how things have led us to today. You know, at this point, good, bad, or indifferent, you know, whatever the intent was or was not, you know, there's definitely a passion to see some positive progressive movement. And so that is frustrating for me. So, you know, not intentionally trying to be overtly aggressive, but I just, so I want to apologize to everybody there, but I'm passionate about it. And I'm not the kind of person that you can just kind of, you know,
let somebody else speak, Gary.
Stroke my ego and pat me on the back and tell me everything's going to be okay.
It's gonna be okay, Gary.
You got to show me something, and I'm not seeing it.
Well, thank you for your input, Gary. Anything else?
Pretty sure you just called
Let's
Jerry.
see. It's about almost 7:30.
Ooh, Matlock's on.
So how about Bill and I and John get together, work on that suggestion to the
We're
Common
almost out of the
Council.
park, folks. I'm fucking coming unglued. Can't handle any more of this nonsense.
We're going through now, and update, either
Here
changing,
comes the surveys,
taking
folks.
out, putting in.
Talk about how biased as
That's
shit
our
these
job.
are.
So I think maybe we just need to dial back on what we're putting
need to
on
break
you
up.
to do. So
Here's your
let Bill and
post-it
I
note.
do what you've asked us to do, and we'll send you out an email and let you know when we want to meet again. Does that
Are
sound
we go-
fair?
Are we going to see the results of the survey? I mean, that's
Why, you
something
wanna
that
be
we
coddled?
worked on, and we
Yeah,
probably
who's-
should.
They coddle you.
Do we
And
have?
I
that's
went out to
something
all
that
my
I
friends.
still
I gave
owe
out
the
these
committee. There are
surveys.
about
And
25
then Survey
more
Monkey, we
paper
told
surveys that I
the
have
alphabet
now
people
that have to be
to get
input
on
in.
there.
So by whenever we
People that made the
reconvene,
big fist.
that should be
And,
ready to
we
go
asked
for
them to go and
all the
fill out these
results that we have,
surveys, and
including the paper.
Little old
ones.
ladies.
Right.
I'm,
They make up a
Rich.
large portion of our
Right
population.
now,
though,
everybody,
by the
I'm
way.
looking at
The
reconvening,
elderly, the seniors,
and I'll tell you why.
and young folks.
In
like
2
myself.
weeks,
I
which
didn't
is
get a
be the
fucking survey.
22nd,
And look,
I'm not here on
I didn't
Wednesday.
get the exclusive link. You have to
I'm
be
away at a
invited to these
conference.
links. It wasn't on the city
So,
website. Just
uh,
saying.
I'm gonna suggest that we look at, the next one after that would be, the October 6th. That would give Linda and I a month to get things straightened out here, to come back with a plan, to everybody here, have HR.
We'll see you in a month.
Work,
HR director is going to
here
get
and
your
working.
pink slips ready, folks.
and get
And then
that
we
settled
will
in.
just collapse
and,
this
bring it
entire
back to you. Is that okay with
amalgam
everybody?
of policy
Sounds
cancer
good to
amongst
me.
itself. We'll see you
Yep,
next
that
month.
works.
Bye, guys.
Okay.
See ya. All right, gang. That was the Diversity Inclusion Committee. I am exhausted. I'm getting up again early in the morning. Got jujitsu with the kids from 10 to 11. And I'm going to try to pull out a job before then. It is 10 o'clock. I'm hitting the hay. You guys have a splendid evening, and we will see you tomorrow for hopefully the next council meeting, and then your what you all been waiting for, a guest host or a guest on the show. We haven't had one in a while. We're gonna have one. We're gonna have much more. Keep posted. We'll keep you posted. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Harass us in the comments. The more gruesome, the better. But we'll take it all. Thanks, gang.